If it's an executive, a leader of some sort, I'm like, you need a coach. Every person needs a coach to help them along and guide them. And so the difference being that as a coach, I do not provide you with the answers. I help you raise your self-awareness to find the answers that suit you. So I'm not coming up with the answers, I'm helping you find your answers.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm really excited to hear more about your business, Axiom Coaching. You work as a business consultant and coach in the Buffalo Niagara region, working with leadership and executive coaching, team development, and consulting to really improve organizational excellence and process development. How did you get into this space? Tell me a little bit about your story.
Well, it was kind of a long process. One thing that just kind of a side note, I do get college students or college graduates coming and saying, "Hey, how do I get into coaching and uh,
Mhm.
experience?" And how do I get into consulting experience? You can't just jump into it. So I've been in this kind of business manufacturing space for a little over 30 years, and so there was the progression from obviously graduating with an engineering degree, getting into working at Motorola for a while, working at some smaller companies for a while. And one of the things that for me was I was very restless. It was if I wasn't moving into a different position at an organization, um, or growing within the organization, I would get bored very easily. And that's when I kind of used a consulting firm when I was a quality manager at a company to assist with just doing some documentation and started talking to them and got interested in it. And that's kind of how it led me into, okay, I think I want to get into consulting because you're in different spaces, different cultures, different environments. It's not the same place day in, day out. And so that kind of opened up the door, had discussions with that consulting firm. They hired me, worked for them for about, I think, 15 years around there. So that helped also gain the experience of consulting. So I had the knowledge, but now I learned how to be a consultant, how to write the proposals, budgets, that type of thing. And then I decided once I got in my coaching certification, I kind of wanted to branch out, do my own thing, and that's how Axiom was born. So it was I want to get more into doing my own thing, kind of controlling my own destiny, and so here I am,
You are killing
12,
it.
12 years, no, a little bit since 2014.
Wow. That's a really impressive track record. And I know you straddle both coaching and consulting. How do you decide which one a client really needs, or do you always bring in both to the table?
So I always bring both.
Hmm.
It's really up to the client as to what they want. And so when they ask, should I have coaching? Should I have consulting? If it's an executive, a leader of some sort, I'm like, you need a coach. Every person needs a coach to help them along and guide them. And so the difference being that as a coach, I do not provide you with the answers. I help you raise your self-awareness to find the answers that suit you. So I'm not coming up with the answers, I'm helping you find your answers.
Hmm.
As a consultant, it's the opposite. I am providing the answers and
Hmm.
giving you the answers and the solution to the problem and helping you implement it. And so as a coach, I may not help implement, but I help with an action plan. So once we've decided on a solution, we create an action plan, and then as a coach, I'm making sure you're doing those actions. But again, I'm kind of hands off on the implementation, where again, consulting hands on with the implementation. Where I merge the two is even if I'm consulting, I'll still use coaching techniques, and at times when I'm coaching, sometimes even the client will just say, I am so stuck. I do not just break your coaching and just give me a hint as to what the solution might be. So then I may provide a hint at the solution or, hey, this is three possibilities. What feels best for you? So again, they kind of merge sometimes depending on the client.
Sounds like a really powerful combination of skill sets that you bring to the table, and that you're able to wear both hats almost simultaneously in a conversation with somebody that allows you to gather more information through the coaching hat, right? And allows them to really help to think of that solution because they're the expert at the end of the day. If it's, their company, perhaps, right? They might be able to come up with a good solution themselves. And you don't want to be giving a bunch of advice that without enough information, right? So I feel like that combination is really effective, it seems, definitely.
Yes, it does help get a better feel for the individual, a feel for their organization, how they feel about the
Mhm.
leadership, their leadership style. If you're working mainly with leaders when you're coaching,
Mhm.
although there is sometimes we do performance coaching, which is an employee who isn't
Mhm.
performing to what the standard is, and they feel that the person has the skill sets, they're just not getting it, so they want some coaching to help them grow and improve. But typically, you're dealing with executives and leaders or owners of the company. So,
Mhm.
and you're right, they may be experts about their organization, although they everybody has blind spots. We all
Yeah.
have them, and that's why again a coach is really good to help you see the blind spots because you're in that every day. You're in
Mhm.
that environment every day. In some cases, your employees, especially some of the smaller like machine shops and businesses that I work with,
Mhm.
it's almost like a family that these employees have been around for 20 years or so.
Mhm.
So you start to get that family feel, you get blinders put on. So as a
Mhm.
coach, I come in with a fresh set of eyes, but I also help the executive see things with a fresh set of eyes that they are not aware of with
Mhm.
themselves and within their organization. So
Do you see that there's like some common blind spots that these leaders have, like across different companies, or is it always different? I'm curious.
um, yes, there are some common blind spots. Typically, the one big blind spot is the importance of quality and quality systems within the organization and having a good firm documentation system so that people know, have instructions, have standardization, and you have structure.
Mhm.
The other big blind spot which is huge, is accountability.
Mhm.
Again, you find, like I said, it's almost like sometimes it is a family run business. So you have family members there, but also, like I said, with these employees that have been there so long, it's like a family. So
Mhm.
accountability becomes a very hard issue for a lot of leaders. They're
Mhm.
too friendly they see their employees as a
Mhm.
friend, not an employee, where it's okay to be friends and friendly. However, you always have to see them as an employee. They are an
Yeah.
employee, they're working for you, there's expectations, and if they're not meeting those expectations, hold them accountable.
Right.
And then I think the third blind spot sometimes is, like you said, that they're the expert. Well, I've been
Mhm.
running this business for whatever, 15 years, 20 years. It's been in my family for 4 generations. I know the business. You may know the business, but again, you don't know everything. Any leader that thinks they know everything is in trouble. So a leader always has to be growing, always has to be learning, and always has to uh, increase their self-awareness. And
Mhm.
so they get, I think, stuck in the fact that I've been here, it's been in my family, whatever, for so long.
Mhm.
I don't need help. The rest of the organization does. And so that can tend to be a blind spot as well for a lot of leaders.
Mm, yeah. No, thank you. That's super helpful. I think that a lot of business owners, if not all business owners, can probably relate to those areas. It's a lot to keep track of, right? As a leader. Um, yeah. What are you seeing, I guess, in the leadership development space right now in terms of, some of the biggest shifts? Do you feel like things that you mentioned a little bit earlier about post-COVID and how you're noticing a huge shift. Like what exactly are you noticing?
So I'd say the two shifts that I've noticed is one, we've already mentioned kind of the accountability.
Mm-hmm.
One, it ties in with uh, since COVID, kind of the reduction in workforce, although it's kind of rebounding some, it's still hard to find employees
Mm-hmm.
and find experienced employees. So
And particularly, sorry to interrupt, but in the manufacturing and like retail heavy spaces like you work in, do you feel like that's the area where it's harder after COVID, like particularly in your industry or across the board?
I would say kind of across the board, but definitely in the manufacturing space or even in some service industry or retail
Mm-hmm.
space, there's this lack of again that experience. So
Mm-hmm.
there's this gap. So you have people coming out of college, which is great, but they don't have the real world experience to just run with the job without a lot of training, supervision, and mentoring. And then, like I said, you have this gap of experience, and now the people that are left or there, they're getting close to retirement. So how are you going to replace them? So that's part of what I'm seeing, and that relates
Mm-hmm.
back to the accountability where people are afraid to hold people accountable because
Mm-hmm.
they're afraid then that if they do, they'll either leave or eventually they're going to have to remove that person from their organization. And then they're worried about how am I going to fill that spot because there's not enough candidates out there and it's going to take me a long time to fill that spot. So that kind of, I've seen that increase. And then the other is with the lack of talent and where we kind of come in and fit in is the fractional leadership. So we come in for a day, maybe 2 days a week, and we fill in the spot that is missing. So it could be a quality manager, operations manager, a director of a department of some sort that we come in, fill that spot, and either help with the transition as they're hiring somebody to when they finally find a candidate, we help through that process. And we help interview the candidate, and then we also help with the transition of the candidate into the spot. Or in some cases, I have some clients where I've been with them for 2, some 3 years in this fractional position because they realize we can hire a staff at a lower price than hiring somebody in like the position that I'm filling, which would be a huge amount of money. We can take that money and hire like 3 people at a lower position and just have me direct them in the fractional position. So the work gets done, they have direction, and they have that higher level management, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to pay for that management position.
Mm. Wow, you guys do so much for your clients.
We try. We try.
Yeah. And coming back to kind of the topic of today's episode, we are sharing, kind of rethinking traditional marketing. And obviously, when you're talking about, finding clients, I mean, traditional marketing could be just kind of general outreach. It could be, email marketing. What kind of tactics are you guys using at Axiom to get the word out about your unique offering that you bring to this space for your clients?
So we do a lot of social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Uh, we have um, I don't think we're on YouTube yet. I'd have to talk to my marketing director, who is also fractional. So I use the techniques that I employ with my clients. So I believe in it. But so we do are on social media and kind of reach out that way. We do different types of mailings that we do send out to potential clients, either it be snail mail, email, or a combination. We have events that we hold where people can network uh, so that it's not just we want to help the community of manufacturers, especially small to medium size, although I have some larger clients that would not be in that classification. But small to medium size, that's the engine for the economy. So not only do we want to have these events so that okay, maybe we'll get a client, but we want to connect people so that in the community becomes stronger and people can make connections and say, oh, well, I need your services to help my business, or you supply the material I need, so let's talk. So it's making those connections at those events, not only for ourselves, but for our clients and for other people we event or invite, I mean. We also
Mhm.
do speaking engagements so that in those are more kind of a learning event for our clients or anybody who attends. And that also then kind of is showcasing some of the knowledge we have, where then people come up and say, what you talked about, I need some help on that. So let's have a discussion. And then we reach out to a lot of Chamber of Commerce's too. And we're actually a member of the local one that is kind of one of the better ones in the town that I live in. But we reach out to those as well and attend those types of events, the Chamber of Commerce events.
Great. No, that's a powerful combination that you have going there. And obviously your history and reputation is huge. And like you said, experience is always important or the most
Yes.
important. When you look at your business, what 1 to 2 numbers do you think really matter the most with marketing? Is it the pipeline, your close rate, your recurring clients, your retention, or something else?
Yes.
All
So
of the above.
all of the above. The pipeline is fairly important, at least to have a few in the pipeline. Um,
Mhm.
I don't like to have an overwhelming amount in the pipeline. It's sort of controlling the flow. Maybe different than what, you know, marketing experts or other businesses or consultants would think. They may want, 30 or 40 potential clients coming in at a time. I
Mhm.
find that's a little bit overwhelming, and also you can't really do a good job
Mhm.
of really knowing the client, what they need, and getting them the proposal to exactly solve their problem. And for me, the second part is the close rate. If my
Mhm.
close rate is going down, then I'm realizing I'm not spending the time I need on the proposals. I'm not really addressing the problem. Um, so they're not interested anymore. And if you spend time on the proposal, address their problem, the close rate goes up significantly. I would
Mhm.
say currently my close rate is about 90%. So it's in
That's
that
impressive.
range. So I'd rather have it in the 90s and close on and know that it's almost a guarantee once I've met a client that I'm going to get the job.
Mhm.
And then that leads into usually retention. So if you do a good job, they're
Mhm.
going to come back to you for the next project they need or next thing they need help with. So
Mhm.
closing is to me is more important, and getting it right for that closure because that leads to the retention and a long-term relationship with the client.
No, that's super helpful. If you could remove one constraint that would really help your business to go to the next level of growth, what would that be?
It may sound strange, but the amount of work that I'm doing right now, so it's hindering me from working on the business to grow it even more.
Mhm.
So that's slowing me down because I'm blessed to be very busy.
Mhm.
I do have subcontractors that I use to help with the work, but I
Mhm.
need additional subcontractors, which, like my clients, it's hard to find the talent and the right
Mhm.
relationship for a subcontractor to come in and help
You
do
need
the
like
work.
5 or 10 more of you, basically.
At least two. Two would be
Like
very
doing
helpful.
this coaching and consulting with your clients.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
if I could have that and like I said, finding the right person with the right
Mhm.
personality, the right fit, the right talent, the right experience
Mhm.
has been difficult.
Mhm.
So if we could get one or two of me, then I again could work more on the business than in the business, which
Mhm.
again I see as a common problem with my clients as well. Everybody's stretched thin, so you even have owners and high-level managers doing this day-to-day stuff where it's like
Mhm.
you really should not be doing the day-to-day stuff. You should be thinking more strategic, long-term, and directing your
Mhm.
people underneath you for the day-to-day things.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. So building that team and training them is it sounds like a bottleneck for most companies,
It,
for a lot of
it is.
companies.
It is.
Hmm.
Again, it's that shortage of talent, the shortage of finding the right people, the right fit.
Hmm.
The worst thing you can do is just hire somebody to fill a need. If they're,
Hmm.
even if they have the talent and experience, they also have to fit your culture and
Hmm.
your team.
Yeah.
And I see that mistake all the time that hey, this person's got really great experience, a lot of knowledge. Yeah, they do, but they're not fitting within your culture. They're not fitting within your organization. So
Hmm.
it's not helping you.
Yeah, you almost need like an Axiom coaching for Axiom coaching. Right.
That
Like
would, yeah,
you're busy helping everybody else, but who helps you do the same thing? It sounds like every company needs that.
they do. And I have other consulting friends that
Mhm.
we get on the phone and either you know, complain about the business or share insights and help one another. So I do have those types of relationships to help out.
Mhm.
But yeah, I need a little bit more help.
Yeah. And where do you want Axiom coaching to be in 6 to 12 months from now? Like team size, offerings, industries served, any of the above?
So the with the industry served, we definitely would like to either get into even more service industries and diversify more because we're largely manufacturing. Although, as we've mentioned, we've done retail, we do help service industries,
Mhm.
nonprofits. If they're looking for help, we would love to help nonprofits as well. Um, money
Mhm.
can be tight with nonprofits. I've run a few and had a few in the past of my own nonprofits that I ran. So I know money can be tight, but it's the same thing. You're running a business and you need help.
Mhm.
So diversifying our client base would be nice. The other thing in offerings is uh,
Mhm.
online training, more speaking engagements, more of those events to connect people, not only to us, but to other people in the industry or in the area so that they can increase their partnerships and collaboration. So we want to grow in the, like I said, the training and speaking engagements and meeting areas. And again, falling on me to do that, but I again that roadblock of not having people to do the project work for the clients is kind of slowing me down to grow in that space.
Mhm. Right. No, that's really, really thank you for sharing that. I feel like so many people listening are going to learn a lot about from this conversation that we've had today. Before we wrap up, I always like to ask this question. What's one idea that you want every leader listening to remember from this conversation?
I would say, what is your legacy? What do you
Mm.
want your legacy to be? So, me as a person who is passionate about leaders and leadership, and I learn about it, continually learn about it, and want to help other leaders. So, my legacy is that I help other leaders find their legacy. That's the legacy that I want to leave for my business, for what I've done through this business. So helping other leaders find their legacy is my goal. But a leader should always be thinking about what legacy do they want to leave? Do they want to leave, a lasting positive legacy on their people, on the community? What is that legacy that they want to do? And some people may tie it to a purpose or whatever, but it's more lasting. A purpose is kind of got an end goal. This is the purpose. And once I've reached that purpose, job well done. Legacy is long after you're gone, people are still going
Mm.
to talk about and say, this person left this lasting legacy of X. And so you really want to kind of define that. And then that should start shaping what you do for your business, how you lead, how you act, how you talk, so that you can reinforce that legacy and hopefully, like I said, make it a lasting legacy that will far outdate you when you, I'm not even saying die, but when you retire, when
Yeah.
you go off and now are doing your hobbies, fishing, hiking, whatever, photography, people still in the organization and in that industry are like, hey, do you remember so and so? They left such a legacy, and this is what they
Yeah.
left behind.
Yeah, tell me more about that difference between a purpose and a legacy. I've never thought of it that way before, but I like the way that you kind of touch on that. Can you tell me more?
Sure. So I was
Like
a
maybe an example?
yeah, so I was a pastor for 12 years of a church. The calling and the purpose was to be a pastor to, you know, help people spiritually.
Hmm.
Great. But that's the purpose. But the legacy that I wanted to leave behind was a church and a spiritual experience that would help people grow spiritually and give them those opportunities to grow spiritually and help people who maybe weren't spiritual find that safe environment um, to grow in spirituality and then carry that to their next endeavor. So um, to me, it's if they left the church and went to another church, then I wanted them not to just be sitting in that church. I wanted them to be able to contribute to that church. So it was growing spiritual leaders, if you want to call it. That was the legacy I was looking for. So again,
Yeah.
as a pastor, everybody has that purpose of being a spiritual leader and helping people, but what kind of legacy do they want? My legacy was to grow not just people spiritually, but to turn them into spiritual leaders. So again, if they went to another church, left the area and then they're in another church, again, they're not just sitting in the chairs, they're actually going to help that church as a leader. So I think that hopefully that clarifies the difference between purpose and
Yeah.
legacy.
And that's such a fascinating background and experience that you bring in to your role now with coaching and consulting. And I mean, I can see so many parallels in terms of, yeah, I understand what you're saying in terms of help. Your purpose is to help an individual, to help a client, right? To make a difference in each person's life that you work with. But then the legacy is really empowering these individuals to be a culture shift in the world. If that does that make kind of what you're saying a little bit? That's kind of what I grabbed from what you're
Yeah.
sharing.
Yes, yes, a legacy should help change the culture, should improve the culture, should improve the community, should leave some kind of lasting improvement on the
Mhm.
world, however big or small that may be. So yes, I would agree with what your statement was that you
Yeah.
summed it up in with different words, but it's the same concept. Absolutely.
Do you have kids, Steve?
I do not.
Okay.
Do not.
So I think a lot of parents can identify with this too. Obviously, like, our purpose is to keep our kids safe and happy and healthy, right? But then obviously we want to prepare them for the world. So yeah, I've never thought about these two things before as so unique and separate and powerful in their own right. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem. No problem. So absolutely I would agree that's another great example of a parent. Your purpose, like you said, is to nurture and take care of your child and make sure they're healthy and they're taken care of and all of those important things.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of a parent, but what is your legacy for your child? And so is it helping them find their legacy? Is it helping them find their purpose or in the world or helping them explore to find that purpose and legacy? I think, again, two separate things. Um,
Mhm.
one is taking care of your child, but the other one is then, like you said, helping them prepare for the future and what do they want to do and become in the future and hopefully a better member of society and help it improve it in some way, or at least
Absolutely.
find their passion and go explore that passion. I think
Yeah,
sometimes,
be a positive influence
yeah,
on the people around them, right? That's the most that's best case scenario for every parent, for sure.
yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you. This was so incredibly insightful. I know so many listeners are going to be inspired by this conversation. Thank you for going so deep with me today. This has honestly been one of my favorite conversations I've had so far, and I had no idea about your background, so that just it was like the icing on the cake.
I appreciate it, and I hope people do take something away from this, even if it's just one nugget. That's any leader when they give a speech or a talk or something like that. It's uh, you know, you're doing it for the audience, not for yourself, and you hope that, hey, hopefully they learned either a little or a lot, but they got something out of this. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation as well, and I really do hope the audience takes away some, even if it's just one nugget, takes something away from this.